maritime sector is, of course, one of the 11 critical infrastructure that's been designated by the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, right? It plays, a big part in the economy and, of course, in the global economy as well. So just want to get your thoughts, how do you see the sector in terms of cybersecurity or defense posture compared to other sectors like, for example, financial services, that most people say it's probably the most mature because it has so many lessons that he has learned from. But I'm not sure about maritime sector. Can you tell us a bit about that, your thoughts on that?
I'll try to use my words carefully here, Jane. I don't think the maritime sector is as mature as other type of sectors, especially in transportation industry and in the financial industry. The big difference, if you're trying to compare maritime industry with the financial sector has embedded a lot of audit mechanisms, control measures. It really is comprised of tracking who's doing what and what type of processes are being executed or what type of policies are being executed and things like that. I don't know that we have that type of in-depth system in place to really understand and know who has access to what and how they're using the information and how we're storing data and things like that. And I'll give you a pretty good example is you do see cyber threats in both industries, but it's very, very attractive right now on the maritime side of the house because of ransomware. So if you were going to choose which industry that you wanted to attack, that you'd have more probability of being successful, it would probably be the maritime industry. So I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the maritime industry, when in ransomware it's one of its biggest threats right now to that industry because they know that it's not as mature as other industries. And hackers have been, or threat actors have been very successful with ransomware, especially in the maritime industry. The number of, not only just the successful attacks, but actually extortion, actually financial gains, receiving money and things like that, very, 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 very effective. And then our threat actors also extend not just within people that are seeking monetary gains, but also there's a political connection as well. We have as adversaries, within or without the maritime sector who, they target the maritime sector so they can kind of stifle it, and make it paused to where there's huge financial losses, not just within, stakeholders, all the stakeholders within the financial arena, but, in some cases it could disrupt a country's economy based on a maritime portway being paralyzed through some type of malicious activity taking place.
I think it's a very favorite topic. You mentioned ransomware and how hackers would target the maritime sector. I think a very notable incident was not Petya and the Maersk incident,
yes,
wasn't it? That
yes.
was 5 years now, isn't it?
That was 5 years, and from what I understand, Maersk lost about $300 million in that particular attack that took place, and that really kind of shook up the maritime industry. That's when the maritime industry really kind of
wake up.
Wake up and kind of said, hey, we kind of need to do something. We kind of need to figure out a way to communicate, share information, and we need to have strategies for backup systems and how we manage something like this taking place.
Yeah, that was also like a supply chain vulnerability there as well, isn't it?
That was like a supply chain vulnerability. What was that one? How was that one? I don't know if that was through an email. I looked at it just this morning too, and I forget about the exact infiltration point, but I thought it might be maybe through some email or something like that.
Something like that. I think it was a software update system.
It could have been through a software update system, but a lot of times you have these attacks, and then you find out you did have some vulnerabilities. You did have a way for someone to get in, but the reason why the first thing that went to my head was through phishing and email and things like that is because most attacks these days on land are happening through phishing and things like that. So software updates, Uber, they didn't have a patch in place, and their software wasn't able to get updated, and they subsequently suffered really a heavy financial burden as well as public trust in that particular instance, things like that. So that really can impact who you are in the industry and how you're trusted in the public, and really that becomes a business decision as to what you can do and how much business you're going to get for moving freight and operating and things like that within the maritime ecosystem.
You mentioned that it was a big wake-up call for the sector, and there was a lot of, I guess, reviews into recovery processes, backup systems, and so that was one big lesson, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think I'm glad you brought that up too. Recovery is a big component anytime that you have an attack take place. And then when it comes to ransomware, one of the most prolific types of attacks that we see in the maritime industry, backup systems are really being, more emphasis in that area is taking place with backup systems, because once your data is encrypted and you have no other mechanism to turn to, you're frozen, then in some cases you have no choice but to be extorted and pay a ransom. If you have backup systems, at least you have a chance of recovering your data, or using a strategy that would help you recover a lot quicker than if you didn't have a backup system.
Yeah, there's no 100% security, isn't it? So there has to be some emphasis and attention paid to recovery, and
Yeah. There's a saying in the cybersecurity industry is there's two types of organizations, and those that have been hacked and those that don't know that they've been hacked.
Right. Ron, you are CISO of a very, very busy port. Mm-hmm. What keeps you awake at night?
I love it when I get this question.
Last question, I promise.
No, you can ask as many questions as you want to. I go to a lot of speaking things, conferences and things like that, and this question is brought up all the time. And the interesting thing, Jane, the answer is not always the same. It is changing right now. I could say, getting attacked by a hacker, or not being prepared, not having a good incident response plan. The thing that keeps me up at night goes back to the human element in our organizations. There's somebody. You can have somebody who's very cybersecurity aware, has been trained, things like that. But we're all human, and humans are subject to mistakes.